So as you know, AI isn't coming, it's already here, and it's changing the way we work faster than most of us realize. But what does that really mean for our jobs, our wages, and our future as blue-collar Americans? So today we're going to break down the data, the truth about jobs AI might take, the ones it won't, and how AI could affect our pay, and most importantly, how can you stay ahead of this shift to artificial intelligence? So let's look at some numbers. So forecast estimates that AI and automation could eliminate around 6% of U.S. jobs by 2030. That's roughly 10.4 million positions, and that's similar in scale to job losses that we saw in the 2008 financial crisis. And beyond those numbers, some analysts, including Goldman Sachs, say AI can impact hundreds of millions of jobs globally, with some industries more exposed than others. And according to broad estimates, roughly 30% of U.S. jobs could be automated by 2030, meaning entire tasks, entire industries may no longer require humans. And it's also worth noting that 40% of workers say they now worry about how AI is going to affect their job, or even if they're even going to have a job in the future because of artificial intelligence. So obviously AI doesn't affect all work equally, right? There's some high-risk jobs and some jobs that AI will never affect whatsoever. But some high-risk jobs are those that include, repetitive tasks. You do the same thing day in, day out. Rule-based, you follow procedures and guidance documents, things like that. Screen-based jobs, you sit at a computer screen all day in a cubicle. And then easily predictable jobs. You do the same thing. It's very predictable, no surprises throughout your workday. And some examples of those jobs include customer service reps, data entry and basic administrative work, call center jobs. I've spoken to many of CSAs and call center AI robots, if you will, here recently. Basic coding and junior tech work. Man, ChatGPT can send you all kind of Python code, etc. Nothing too fancy, but just basic coding. Routine accounting, TurboTax using W-2 income, basic accounting. That's a no-brainer for things like ChatGPT. And then some marketing and content tasks. We've all seen the marketing, AI marketing. We've seen AI videos on YouTube. Some are really good. You can't even tell it is AI. But that stuff is getting better and better as the technology advances. But these roles involve tasks that AI can already do as well or better than humans. But in contrast, there's jobs that involve true human judgment, unpredictability, or physical work are much more or less exposed to being affected by artificial intelligence. So this is my big worry with artificial intelligence affecting the workplace, and that's AI could put downward pressure on wages for some workers, especially in jobs where automation lowers labor demand. Think about it. If you have less responsibility at your job, why is your employer going to pay you what they've been paying you when they can bring people off the street in for $10 less per hour to accomplish the same task essentially with the assistance of artificial intelligence? A good example is historically automation technologies haven't always reduced total jobs, but they have reduced laborers' share of productivity, which can suppress wage growth over time. And this was seen with automation in manufacturing. Think of Ford Auto Company. Robotics increased output, but workers didn't get a proportional raise in pay. There again, you have less responsibility at your job. Your employer is probably not going to be paying you what they were paying you before they introduced robotics and AI, when they can just bring people off the street and replace you a lot easier than they had before this technology came into the workplace. So there is some positive things about artificial intelligence and the workforce. AI isn't just a job killer, it also creates jobs and opportunities. But I guess one thing about this is we've all seen the headlines about these large $100 billion plus data centers being constructed in these rural areas, especially here on the Gulf Coast. And yes, these data centers do require a lot of workers initially to construct the building, to get it going and all that. But I just wonder how many employees they're actually going to have after it's constructed and running smoothly. Are those jobs going to make up for the impact those data centers are going to have in these small communities? So there again, yes, you are creating jobs with artificial intelligence, but are they really going to be there, a decade or two from now? Probably not. But one thing that this article said, workers using AI tools report saving time. For example, AI can save an average of 2.2 hours per week for the average worker. And this allows that average worker to focus on more higher value work, if you will. And I'll use the example of my coworkers using Microsoft's Copilot to kind of write their emails. It might save them 10, 20 minutes here and there, but my coworkers are now freed up and able to focus on more important things to do in the plant and in their job, in their operator job. So that's one of the ways it can actually, it's almost like you're just giving artificial intelligence the kind of repetitive, the little silly, busy work tasks, and you're able to focus on those higher value tasks. So that is a positive that's going to come out of this artificial intelligence boom. So now the main section of the video, and that's jobs least at risk of being affected by artificial intelligence. So if you're worried about staying employable, here's good news. Jobs that are hands-on, unpredictable, human-centric are much harder for AI to replace or duplicate, if you will. And these include the skilled trades, obviously electricians, plumbers, welders, mechanical and field work. A diesel mechanic is not going to be replaced by AI. Healthcare and caregiving, these long-term care facilities, the registered nurses, dentists, surgeons, some of that's going to be robotics, but for the majority, I feel like it's still going to be there. The skilled construction worker, I don't see computers and AI framing houses anytime soon. And then emergency services, obviously, your police, firemen, ambulance services, things like that, it's not going to be affected by AI whatsoever. It might actually help them do their jobs better, but they're not going to go away. And then jobs requiring human empathy and adaptability. That's your psychologists and your, I guess, lawyers, financial planners in a roundabout way. Those jobs I don't see being affected too much by AI, but there again, I feel like AI is going to help them do their job more efficiently and better. So I feel like if your job is a safety sensitive role, like a plant operator, construction worker, heavy machinery operator, things like that, I feel like you have no worries about AI coming for your job whatsoever. Companies want to operate in a safe manner for the most part, and there's a lot of laws in place that I feel like will never touch safety sensitive roles. So I'm not necessarily scared of AI taking my blue collar job, but I do want it to help boost my income, not replace it. I've been using ChatGPT for 6 months or so, and I use it for a lot of silly stuff to create memes and pictures and all that good stuff, but I also use it to kind of automate my life, if you will. And I use it to help me become more creative, more productive, and it helps me to think outside the box, if you will. It's helped me create, online businesses. It's helped me, with my running, my training, it tracks my blood pressure, things like that. It's so crazy. So if you think outside the box, what can AI do to help boost your income? Can it help automate your life? Can it help do the day-to-day task at your job or your business so that you can focus on those higher value tasks, right? You can focus on growing your business versus the basic accounting that you need on a daily basis. So in closing, if your job is predictable, repetitive, computer-based, if you will, AI is probably going to affect your job in the next year or so, supposedly. But if you're a blue-collar worker, very hands-on, you work an unpredictable job, safety is a concern, I don't feel worried about artificial intelligence coming for those blue-collar type jobs. It is definitely a transformative technology, and that means more or less like it's probably not going to take a lot of jobs, but it's going to change how we work on a day-to-day basis. It's going to make us more efficient. I feel like the workforce will shrink because of artificial intelligence, but I feel like the ones that are going to be left standing, if you will, they're going to demand a higher wage because they're able to do a lot more in a 40-hour work week with AI versus without it. So anyway, I appreciate you watching the video. Definitely go out there. Don't be too shy about learning about artificial intelligence. I don't feel like it's going anywhere anytime soon. Use it to your advantage. Use it to learn. Be more creative. Use it to make your life easier. I appreciate you watching the video, and I'll see you next week.